Hey guys, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys are enjoying the King Richard review. Uh, Had some pretty good things to say about that. Um, okay, um, okay, I just got done watching this, and yeah, I think that my introduction should speak for itself. Um, Clifford the Big Red Dog. I don't know why I watched this, but as I said on this channel, I'm only watching things that I have an interest in. And I was curious, kind of the masochist in me, to watch Clifford the Big Red Dog, um, because the trailers did not look good, and I thought the idea of a live-action Clifford movie was plausible, but knowing how Hollywood is, and just knowing, just how most adaptations go, particularly with kids' cartoons, I knew that I was getting into a particular type of film. Um, And the best way I can describe it is that the movie is trying to be three different types of movies. And I have my notes, by the way, if you see me looking down here. Um, there's uh, there's two movies that it wants to be, and then it ultimately resides in one type of film. Those three movies, and it's really apparent when you watch the movie. It tries to be three sorts of movies. It tries to be Bumblebee. It tries to be Gremlins, and it tries to be, or not tries to be, it is very much so Bill Murray's Garfield. Um, it is, it's, where do I start? Okay, um, like I said, walking into this, I did not expect much. I didn't expect really anything. I didn't expect anything more, anything less. Actually, I was expecting way less, but surprisingly, I will say that the first 40 minutes, even though they're very inconsistent and have a lot of issues, um, it's surprisingly tolerable. I mean, there's a engagement that's present in those first 40 minutes, in like some manner or another, and it keeps you afloat for the first like 40 minutes, and then um, after those 40 minutes pass, you're then shown the real identity of this movie. The movie really unveils itself to you after those 40 minutes pass. And what you're provided is a very bland, by the numbers, cliched story that you've seen time and time again. And it has hints of sweetness. Like, there's two scenes that I thought were okay, between the girl and the dog. I thought there was like two scenes I thought were kind of sweet. But it's more or less due to the CGI Clifford thingy, um, than anything else. Which really, that's where my problems start. It's with Clifford himself. He is. It has nothing to do with the design. It has nothing to do with the actual design of Clifford. I think that the way that Clifford looks in the film, I think, is actually quite adorable. Because I've been hearing a lot of like comparisons, to, like the Sonic the Hedgehog type thing. I think that those are two very different instances. They're two very different situations. One of them does not work, and the other one by design works. Um, the issue that Clifford has is the CGI that design inhabits does not work. Um, like like it's fairly rough, particularly in the opening minutes when he's a puppy, like a normal sized puppy. Um, it's like the production made the bigger version and model of Clifford, and then they just shrunk it, because they forgot, like, oh, we have to do the normal puppy thing. Um, we don't have the time to do that. Just shrink the big version and just have that be the puppy. And it looks really odd and it looks really out of place. Um, and then once he gets big, again, it's tolerable at some points, but it's clear that it's a CGI effect. It's not something um, that's uh, that's melded well into the environment. It's just very apparent that it's a CGI effect, a very adorable looking CGI effect, but it's very much so a CGI effect, and it just kind of, in some manner, is problematic, um, and is a little. out of place in some points. Um, did I say problematic? Problematic. Sorry. I feel like I might have said that word wrong. I apologize. I don't know what happened. It's 1 in the morning when I'm filming this, by the way, so I do apologize if I'm not sounding, you know, the most articulate. So, I don't know if I have to be articulate for a Clifford review, but, but then you get to the cast, and, uh, oh boy, I don't know. I forget the uncle's name. I think it's Jack Whitwall. I think that's his name. He's okay. Like he's not annoying. I'll say that. He's okay. You get to the little girl though, and that's where my annoyance came from. And that's where things got cringeworthy and very inexpressive. Um, because that little girl, like, I can't tell you what she's thinking. I can't tell you, uh, you know, what she's feeling, and I really uh, cannot take her at any point seriously. Um, it's the type of performance um, that gives child actors a bad reputation, because child actors are, infamous for being terrible actors, and they're not well trained and all that stuff because they're young and they don't have that much experience. And that's, I would disagree. I think that there's a lot of great child actors out there, like Jojo Rabbit had Roman Griffin Davis, and I thought he was very good in that film. Um, and I'm pretty sure there's others that I can think of. I just can't think of right now. But and Miss Millicent Simmons. I know she's like 16, 17, but that's still considered a young actress. She's great in a quiet place. Um, so there are good child actors out there. It's just this is not one of them. She is very, 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 very inexpressive. Like there's a point where she goes, like, literally with a blank face, no, you know, like she keeps this type of face. Like she doesn't try to move her face at any point. Like it's very inexpressive, and it's laughable at some points. It's the type of performance that belongs on Disney Channel. I think that's the best way to put it. It's like a Disney Channel type performance. When you go watch Disney Channel shows, like you see a type of performance that child actors do. That's where this performance belongs. It doesn't belong in theaters. It belongs in on television. As a matter of fact, the whole movie feels like it belongs on television, because the script doesn't work under this circumstance. That to me is the biggest issue of this movie, is that um, you have dialogue that is meaningless, hypocritical. Like I'll mention to you, like I'll mention to you right now. The movie like has a hard time being consistent, because there comes a point where, as an example, where the uncle character Jack, again Jack Whitwall, I don't know if that's his name, he says some like teen slang near the beginning, like it's like the introductory to Jack and this little girl, them meeting for the first time, or at least on film in the movie we get to see them for the first time, and he's like trying to relate to her, and she's trying to like say he's saying like these teen slang terms which were very cringy to hear, and he's like, well, isn't that what you kids say nowadays? And she goes, oh no, we don't say that anymore. And you then fast forward like 5 minutes later, and she might not say that, but everybody around her says like the exact same type of slang, and that hypocrisy just laid out to me, or pretty much just told me the type of script that we were working with here, which is something very careless, lazy, and really amateur. So, um, so I think that that's really the biggest problem with Clifford, is that it just doesn't have a good script to work with. Like I said, I think the best comparison to make with it is that Bill Murray Garfield movie, because the movie really does want to be Bumblebee. Like you feel it a lot. Like I'm not saying it's like a ripoff of any kind, but it feels like it's drawn a lot of inspiration from Bumblebee, because they're trying to set up this type of relationship with a CGI element and this little girl, and the type of chemistry that they have kind of reminds you a lot of Bumblebee in some respects. Um, and then the reason why I bring up Gremlins is because um, there's this magical element to Clifford. I don't. I mean, I'm spoiling it because it's Clifford the Big Red Dog. Who is gonna watch this movie? Unless you're a kid, don't watch this review. Anybody else who clearly is not going to watch this movie, I'm spoiling this movie. Um, so the reason that he gets big is because there's this, love is what makes him big. The stupid plot line that some films use when they have nothing creative to use. They just use love as an excuse. Um, they do that here, but there's a point where she cries and the tears get on Clifford, and what's made like what's suggested is that the water or the tears, aka the love, uh, that somehow makes Clifford get bigger. Um, and I couldn't help but think of like Gizmo, from Gremlins when, it's like the polar opposite, where, if you put water on Gizmo, all these little gremlins pop out of him. So like it's trying to be certain types of films. It's trying to draw inspiration from this and then draw inspiration from that. But it really, the biggest inspiration that Clifford the Big Red Dog has, as I said up top, is Bill Murray's Garfield, because that movie, in terms of a storyline, is the exact same thing that Clifford the Big Red Dog does. You have a dog that is introduced into a family. That dog has a talent, or that dog has something special about him. These agents or some greedy businessman wants that dog, eventually gets that dog, and the family has to save the dog eventually, and the dog comes home, and the family lives happily ever after together as a united family. Like that's very much what Clifford the Big Red Dog is, and that's what Garfield was. So um, the thing that I can say about Clifford the Big Red Dog is that it is a better film than Bill Murray's Garfield, um, but that's also saying that I'd rather eat dirt than poop. Like Garfield is poop. Like it's just a bad film. This is the kind of bad that's watchable. Like you can kind of get through it. Again, the 40 minutes, the first 40 minutes are tolerable. You can stomach it, and then after that, the film starts to really show you what it really is, and at that point, you start to get irritated and pretty annoyed by it. Um, so, like I said, it's a poorly written script. I think it's just a really bad script. Some spotty visuals there and there, like not just on Clifford, like there's just some visuals in general in the film that are kind of glaring and distracting, and a very unappealing cast. Like all those elements um, create a very uninspired, dull, and in some respects a pointless adaptation. Like I never, I I could see the good stuff. Like I could see what you could have done with this, but where they chose to take this, it just feels pointless. Um, like it feels like it amounts to nothing but the singular dimension that it provides. Just this very surface level uh, idea of like of bondage and love. It's a very simple story, and I don't expect complex. I don't expect a complex or rich story from Clifford the Big Red Dog. But the reason why Bumblebee worked so well is because the execution um, made that film much more entertaining and much more emotionally charged. Here, the execution is just purely lazy. Like there's no passion behind it. It's just going through the motions. It's just kind of like it can kind of care less. Like that's kind of the vibe I got from this movie. It's like it doesn't really care, you know. Um, it's not really trying to appeal to you. It's just kind of it weirdly it knows what it is, but um, that's I think also the problem is that it bathes in that in its only dimension, and it doesn't really try to push itself to anything more interesting. So um, so yeah, um, I'm serious. I can't find one line of dialogue that I felt empowered or gave any kind of depth to this film. It is a very, very, very surface level film. Um, that I will admit, I think children will be okay with. And I don't think it's bad for children. Like, there's some movies that are like insultingly dull, like Tom and Jerry this year, which I think personally is the worst film of this year so far. That to me is insulting for children because that is extremely dull, and the humor in it is just so stupid, um, that even a child, I would imagine, would think is dumb. Um, Here it's like I said, it's the kind of bad that's tolerable for children. I think that's what I would add on to that, is that it's tolerable for children. For someone like me, um, again, there's those 40 minutes that will engage you to a certain manner, and then after that, the film kind of just starts to go downhill. So, um, so yeah, I didn't like this movie. I thought it was pretty dull. Um, I thought it was a bit annoying, and I think that it's okay for children, but for any other person, I would say just skip it. So, so yeah, that's my review on Clifford the Big Red Dog. Just decided to do a review, just as I literally just watched it. Like, I'll be honest, like halfway through the film, I honestly thought I can do the review. You know, I can do the review. I feel like I don't have to watch the whole movie you know, to get the gist of how I feel about this movie. Um, but I I was like, okay, I mean, let's just stomach the rest of it, and yeah, it was a little hard to get through, but I think that like I'm not upset about this movie. I'm more or less disappointed because the first 40 minutes were okay. I would prefer a movie like the Emoji Movie where right out the gate I know that what I'm watching is bad, you know, versus something that shows promise and then falls flat at the very end, or near the middle. Um, so yeah, it's disappointing. It's not one of the worst movies of the year. I've seen some people flagging that it's not one of the worst movies of the year. It's just a really disappointing film, um, and I just I just think it's really dull. I think that's the best way to put it, um, and pretty lifeless in terms of performances. So especially that little girl. That little girl um, needs to go to, like, I don't know where they got that girl from. I'm pretty sure it was like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Disney kid. I'm dead serious. I would not be surprised if that was a Disney kid because her acting looked like something off of Disney Channel. So, um, but but yeah, those are my thoughts on Clifford the Big Red Dog. So you guys let me know if you guys saw the film. And to be clear, I've seen the cartoons. I remember watching the cartoons as a kid, and the film matches the dimensions. I mean, the Clifford the Big Red Dog is not some in-depth show. It's about a big red dog, and they're able to they're able to get the same amount of dimensions as that show did, but in terms of any other entertainment or anything to latch onto, it's non-existent. It's just about a big red dog, and you know, it's just about, at the end of the day, you know, like there's a point at the end where the girl gets on top of a truck and then she starts proclaiming to the world, like she's trying to, it's the type of script where it's being so careless and so um like lazy, it just doesn't really care about itself. Um and like she's trying to do this big speech, and then ultimately it amounts to saying he's a good boy, like that's essentially what she's saying. He's a good boy, and we should all love him. Like that's basically what she's saying, and it just comes off really sappy and really just dry. Um, and again, just very uninspired. So, but but you guys let me know what you guys thought about Clifford. I thought it was just really dull. So, um, but yeah, that's it for my review, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next video, who knows? It might be a trailer reaction for something, who knows, or another review. We'll see. But yeah, that's it for my thoughts on Clifford. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until then, I'll catch you guys next time. I'm gonna go to bed now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So, alrighty, guys. I'll catch you guys next time.